Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Smart Home Choice podcast. My name is Gary Hibbert, and this podcast that you guys are going to be listening to is a little bit different from any of the other podcasts that I've done. And the reason why is I actually got a chance to sit down and have a chat with my team, and it was good. It was fun, and I'll be honest with you. You know, this is pretty much what we do on a weekly basis, just talking about what's happening in the market, where things are going, upcoming events, how we can make things better, improvements. But while we're doing all of that, we're also having a lot of fun along the way. And I think this podcast captures that. So this is my family. And I know that some of you have actually had a chance to meet them and hang out with them and also have some jokes and good times with them as well too. But for the listeners that haven't had a chance to meet them face to face, this will give you an opportunity to kind of get a better idea of who they are, their philosophies, their outlook on life, and where they see things in the future. So I think you guys will learn a lot on this call. Not just only about real estate in the market, but also about us and who we are. All right. So with that, I hope you guys enjoy this month's podcast. And until next time, go out there and take action. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care. All right. So we are live. So welcome everybody to another Smart Home Choice podcast. And on the call today, I've actually got my whole entire team here. So something that we haven't done before, but definitely excited to do in this one. And really why we wanted to do it was to kind of share and let everybody know who we are. And also just to kind of talk about the market and some of the questions that we get on a day-to-day basis. So on the call, I've got my agent, Chris Hummel. I've also got Quentin Cordick.
Good evening.
And Renee Saint-Aubin.
Hi.
I practiced that last name there, Renee.
That's
I hope.
Good. Good job.
And also on the line, our trusted mortgage broker, Darlene Hibbert.
Hello.
All right, cool. So listen, guys, thanks for jumping on the call. I truly appreciate it. And I want to kind of just maybe jump into I guess the first question, but I want to make this a fun question, and I guess just to let people know who you guys are and what some of the favorite things that you guys like, and that is, and I guess I'll start off with Quentin, if you're cool with that.
All right.
Who is your favorite superhero? If you had to, what superpower would you want? And who's your favorite sports team?
Wow. Okay. A blast from the past in terms of superheroes. Let me go with He-Man and good old Saturday morning cartoons there. And
He-Man, huh? Wow, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good choice. He-Man. That's a good choice.
Defending a little Skeletor there. That's the childhood memories of the figurines and the cartoons and all that stuff. So that's some good memories there, Gary. Wow.
Cringer.
Yeah. In terms of powers, I guess if I could just take a simple concept and spread that throughout the world is having people treat others how they want to be treated themselves. And I think in today's day and age, everyone's so caught up in a rat race, and sometimes things are a little crazy out there for people. So if we could just slow things down and let people smell the roses more on a daily basis and bring out more good in people, and that would be a great power to have.
That'd be great to have a wand to kind of, wave it, and the whole that would solve the Middle East crisis. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, right. It's the simple principles of life, right? But I guess the world gets complicated. So, and if we're saying sports teams, and since you took us from a blast to the past, growing up, basketball would have been the main sport, and Michael Jordan was my guy with the Chicago Bulls there. So that's where I grew up there, watching, and that was the squad.
Nice, nice. Chris, what about yourself? Superhero, superpower, and a favorite sport team?
Well, superhero. I don't know. We talking about Marvel or DC? Which one?
You can
Maybe
pick
Dark Horse.
You can pick whoever
Image.
you want.
Which one?
It sounds like
All right.
Marvel.
Okay. Oh, you want to go Marvel? Okay, fine. Then I got to go with Spider-Man. He was always my favorite. Superpower. What I love as a superpower is the power of teleportation. That would solve all of my problems. Believe me. I mean, if I could snap my fingers, be here and then there in an instant, beautiful. And favorite sports team, 1994 Montreal Expos, because we almost won it. We almost won it until the strike, and that really soured baseball in Montreal. But 1994 Expos, definitely.
That's a nice squad.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Renee.
Yes. Superhero. Now, way in the back, way in the past, when I was young, it was Roy Rogers, the old cowboy. We loved the Cowboys and Indians, and we played a lot of that, saw a lot of those movies. So
yeah, but he was cool. He was cool.
I know, with his nice horse there, and Dale Evans, his wife there, and so superpowers. I don't know. Be able to do anything I want or learn anything that I want in a split second. Learn how to.
The Matrix just get plugged right in. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Favorite team? Well, I've gone from when my kids were playing was lacrosse, but it's always been hockey. Was the Canadians when they were dominant, and then when Patrick Roy went to Colorado, I went to Colorado. Now they're down, so the Leafs got a good team. So that's my team right now. Since Ballard is gone and all these young guys there, and got a good coach, I'm with them right now.
All right, nice. Darlene.
So for me, I think my superhero would, I don't know, it's kind of hard. I've always liked Aquaman, but that was just because he could talk to dolphins at the time when I was younger. So for me, I'd have to go with Spider-Man. I like him the best. And in terms of my superpower, I would like to be able to go back in time. That would be so beneficial in so many levels for so many reasons. But definitely to go back in time, especially in hindsight of like what just happened, and in Manchester, just to be able to help those people. Just for so many different reasons, like I said, definitely to go back in time or just change time, I guess, manipulate time. And then for me, the sports team would probably have to be the Toronto Raptors because I was never really into sports. But ever since we've had the Raps, at least, that's one thing that I could enjoy. I just wish the team color wasn't purple.
Something purple.
All right.
Good color.
It should be blue, like the Argos, like the Jays, like the Leafs.
Right. Yeah, get that blue theme right across the for Toronto.
Yeah.
I get it.
The Huskies uniform.
Yeah. All right, cool. And for myself, my favorite superhero, man, I love the Thundercats. Lionel, he was a badass. He was always in trouble. Need just a little bit more help. So I like Lionel. Lionel was great. Superpower. I'm kind of saying the same thing as Darlene. I wish I could time travel, but just kind of go back. I don't want to go to the future. I just don't want to know the future. But if I can go back, and I think for me though, just to go back and party, like to go back to the 70s, that seemed like a really fun time.
Yeah.
So I would just go back to the 70s, just hang out there, and favorite sports team. Man, Blue Jays 92, 93. I love
Yeah.
that. That was a great time. Great time.
Yeah, for
Great
sure.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, so with that, why don't we kind of maybe jump to some real estate investing questions? I guess maybe I'll throw this one over to Quentin. What got you started in real estate investing? And I guess also and when as well.
So I guess I became an agent 10 years ago, and joining into that field there sort of piqued my interest, and I ended up reading a book, Real Estate Investing in Canada by Don R. Campbell, and from there attended a seminar, so I would have to tag that at about 7 years ago. And once I went to one seminar, that was it. Never turned back. I knew it was a sandbox I'd like to play in, and just continue to learn and grow. And the rest is history now.
Right. And sorry, what year was that again? You said
7 years ago.
about 7 years. Yeah. Yeah, Don Campbell is great. I still, I love his philosophies. They're very simple as well too.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And really keeping it down to earth, and he makes a lot of sense for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was a great introduction to it, so it was fantastic.
Yeah. Chris, what kind of books are you reading right now? Is there one particular book that you're currently reading that you're enjoying and that you'd want to share with us?
I'm always reading something. There's the last couple of books. I read the last couple of ones from Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers. What's it called? I can't remember. It's Walk the Dog or something like that. That one I read about 6 months ago or so, and I like those because to me, he kind of challenges you to think outside of what's normal. So I like that. And investment books, the one that always sticks out lately is Stephen Arniel's book, Money People Deal. And I reference that one all the time because there's so much good stuff in there. What else am I reading? I'm reading... Got a couple others that I sort of put on the side. I'll read a couple of chapters here and there. The Magic of Thinking Big, and another one that I always reference too is Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and that one's always on the top of my list. So I've read that one a couple times.
Yeah, that's a fantastic book. I mean, how can you not have that in your book collection? Think and Grow Rich. Just the title alone. Is intriguing enough that you should definitely pick it up and read it. So I've read it. Fantastic book. I've listened to the audio as well too. It's really good. So
yeah, I've got the audio as well. Yeah, and I used to listen to that on my way to work and everything.
Yeah, no, fantastic book for sure. All right, let me switch gears here a bit, and we'll kind of jump over to the mortgage side of things. So Darlene, what is the main reason that you see, people not being able to qualify for an investment property?
That's a good question. One of the main reasons I find is that a lot of people have a lot of unsecured debt or revolving credit. And so right now, with all the rule changes, and, you guys know that, and everyone knows that there's been so many, one of the key things that you really need to do is focus on paying off the debt. Even if it's temporary, have a backup plan where you can have somebody lend you, some funds to pay off those line of credit, because it's a deal killer.
Right. So it's really just all the debt that they're carrying, and I guess the hard part, especially too, when people are living paycheck to paycheck, is trying to figure out how to get rid of that debt. Right.
Yeah. And it's with the rates the way they are right now. It's a good time to refinance and refocus.
Yeah, no, for sure. Mr. Renee, so we obviously know the Durham market is a hot market. Some people are having a hard time, obviously, picking up the properties that they want to get that's going to be able to cash flow. where would you advise people to kind of invest next?
Well, what we are doing as a group is that we're taking our investors to Peterborough because prices are a little bit better than out this way. It's easier to cash flow, and they're cash flowing right now as single family home. And when the laws are passed and we can make them duplexes, there'll be a lot more cash flow. So you're getting a better, a little bit more for your money. I mean, that's basically what you started doing years ago when you started investing in Clarington when everybody was looking at Pickering, Ajax, Whitby. So it's just getting ahead of everybody. So and there's some good stuff out Port Hope, Coburn, and I've heard of somebody who just is converting a duplex out in Brighton. So going east seems to be where people are going to get a little bit more for their money.
Yeah, I guess it's not always about being in that hot market as well. Too, I know that people are like, well, you got to be right in Toronto. You got to be in Toronto, but it's about the cash flow, right? And you're right. And when I kind of remember going back to when I first started investing out in Curtis and Bowmanville, and I remember telling a few people, I'm like, what? Like, where's that? Like, like it wasn't even on the map. It wasn't even on people's radar. But the numbers made sense, and we did our homework as well too. This is kind of a question for everybody, and just in regards to the recent market changes and what's happening with what the government came out with. And maybe Quentin, I'll kind of throw this over to you first, but where do you see the market going for 2017?
I think in a lot of pockets right now, we're seeing things sliding towards maybe a balanced market, still maybe on the slight edge of a seller's market, but there seems to be an uncertainty in the air from the Liberals' changes here, where I think people don't really know what to make of it. So I think a lot of buyers are currently just sitting on the sideline right now and waiting to see what happens, right? So I think it's a little bit of a lull, but in my opinion, anyways, I don't think these buyers have vanished into thin air. So eventually, they're going to come back into play, and the way this world works, they'll probably all come back into play at the same time, maybe in the fall market, and we might see another bit of an uptick in that if it happens that way. Outside of that, maybe just some stabilization and maybe back down to some more modest growth, maybe things in the 5% range.
It'd be nice to see it go back to that 5% range. 32,
oh, yeah,
33% is not sustainable, right?
No, and we know right now we're even enjoying doing some old school deals with conditions and getting to do inspections and financing clauses, and I think we appreciate that time that we have right now to take advantage of that in this marketplace.
Right. And what about you, Chris? Where do you see things going for 2017 or even the next few months?
Well, so Quentin was right that right now there's a bit of a slowdown in the market, a little bit of a lull, and I don't know if that's all to do with the government. The government likes to take their credit. But I think there was already this, things were starting to slow because at the end of the day, like you were saying, 30%, man, it is tough. And you know what? I think most investors, and I say investors, not speculators, most investors prefer slower growth, because I was just talking to a guy today and I told him that at 30%, it's great when you have one, maybe two properties. You bought at 30%, and they went up 30%. It's great, but then you price yourself out of the market, right? And now instead of buying 3, 4, 5 homes that will, go up slowly, but will also get their mortgages paid down, which is huge. You price yourself out, and you can't buy anymore. So I like the slow growth personally. We've been kind of treated, if you want, to have incredible growth lately. But I do think it's going to slow down, at least temporarily. Now, I'm sort of modeling this on Vancouver, thinking about how their market went. It slowed down for 6 months, give or take, and then it started to pick right back up. So I do have a feeling that that's what's going to happen. And as Quentin did say, these buyers, they're still out there, right? There just so happens to be a lot more inventory on the market. And I believe that some people are thinking this is their chance and their time to cash out. As an investor, I think this is our time to cash in, right? To buy in, rather. And because now we're able to get in with these clauses and get in with less than list price. So going forward, what do I think? I do have a feeling it's going to pick up within the next 6 months or so, like you were saying, fall time. Do I think it's going to be 30%? Probably not. Do I think we're still going to see growth? Absolutely. And do I think this is a good time to get in? Obviously, I do. I mean, it's a fantastic time. We're still buying, right? We're still buying.
Yeah,
no, it's a fantastic time in my mind.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think you're right, though, right? That I think people are just dumping their homes right now. They think this is the top, and they want to get out, and that's why I think you see that influx of so many homes in the market. So I agree with that analysis. And Renee, what do you think? Where do you see things going?
I think it's going to maybe pick up again in the fall. Lots of houses on the market. My feeling it's people either cashing out or some of the people who rushed to sell at the peak to get lots of money and didn't sell their house, and now their houses are on the market. Now, when these houses are all gone, who knows what's going to happen? Are we going to be back into another seller's market where there'll be fewer homes? I don't know. I like most of the guys are saying, I like the slow 5% growth. I like to go in when you can, look at the house, think about it, put an offer, conditional finance inspection, and all that, rather than having to rush the people. So I'm hoping that, I know that there's always going to be growth. I mean, history shows that it's always growth, but I'm not. Yes, as an investor who has something, yes, that 30% gave us everything a big boost, but can't keep going like that.
Right, and I think also too, what's coming onto the market is I think some of these vacant homes. I was talking to one of my investors, and they were saying as soon as that announcement came out, there was a home right beside them that's been sitting vacant for 2 years. And as soon as the announcement came out, boom, lights are on, they're in there renovating it, and they're getting it ready to put in the market. So I think it put a bit of fear into them. Just a quote that I always kind of remember that I like is, be greedy when other people are scared, and be scared when other people are greedy. And I think right now is a good time to be greedy. People are a bit fearful right now, and, they want to get out of the market. They think it's a top. And this is, again, where investors jump in and, pick up some great deals. And as long as you're thinking long term, 10 years from now, are homes going to be more expensive than they are today? Most likely, So.
And I agree with that, because I have spoken with several, and I do the little air quotes, investors. Let's call them what they are, probably speculators more than anything, and they're trying to dump right now. Mm-hmm. And they missed the boat, right?
Yeah.
So their places aren't selling. They were thinking they were going to pick up $200,000 in 6 months, something ridiculous. Now some people managed to do it, and that's it's fantastic for them. But now you've got other people kind of left holding the bag. And, they also put themselves in a situation where they are losing money every month, because they figured on the back end with a 30% increase year over year, they were going to be bailed out and come up with an enormous sum. But we're finding a lot of great deals right now, simply because a lot of these folks are left holding the bag, can't keep losing money every month, and have to unload. right?
Yeah.
And they missed the boat. So this is your time to get in right now.
I agree, 100%. 100%. Okay, cool. Thanks for that, guys. So Darlene, so you being a
Yep.
mortgage broker, mortgage agent, how do services differ from, say, an investor just going into a bank? Are there differences?
Yeah, there's a few differences. Well, one of the main reasons why, investors tend to choose the mortgage broker slash agent over a bank is basically because we shop around for different products for you. And we have access to different rates with different lenders using different programs. So if you were to just go into a bank, for example, then you're subject to using just their products and their rental programs with their rates. A broker will search for you, and I think there's a bit more planning involved with the mortgage broker, the mortgage agent. And also to keep in mind that in most situations, the broker is paid by the lender, so there's no additional cost to use the broker.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Quentin, back over to you. What is it that you love about real estate investing?
I think it's taking destiny in your own hands. Before I started investing in real estate, I did the typical, take a chunk off my paycheck and throw it into the RSPs and open up that statement every year and say, okay, see some pie chart, and okay, great, the money's there somewhere. Whereas when I got involved in real estate investing, I felt it's something I could understand, had more control over, more options. And like you said, as long as you have that long-term outlook and have a plan in place, everything we're doing in real estate investing is not anything we've created. We're just repeating history, what's been done before, and taking the systems and implementing. So I love it because it's a safe, secure way to build long-term wealth. And if I'm doing it and it works for myself and my family, I like to spread that to others and show them if it's a good fit for them, then it's a great way to provide for them and their families as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Renee, what about you? What is it that you particularly love about real estate investing, and why did you get into it? I know you got grandchildren as well too, so I'm sure that's probably obviously on your mind as well.
Yeah, I guess is that when I retired from teaching, I just realized there was a little bit of a pension, but the pension was okay, but I just didn't want to take the chance that all of a sudden we'd want to do some other things and the pension wasn't enough. So I just decided to invest in real estate, and now there's some cash flow. But my idea is that I've got grandchildren, and it'll be for them. I don't plan on selling them. It'll be for them, so they can live there, or they'll be just about paid off. They can use it the money to go to school. They could sell it, whatever. So it'll be something for them. I mean, our parents all made their own sacrifices, and now to me it's not a big sacrifice because I'm not. It's not affecting what I'm doing. As a matter of fact, it's helping with a little bit of cash flow, but that's my basic reasons for getting into the real estate.
Right. And then Chris, for yourself, this is a question that we always kind of get asked all the time, and especially I think for beginning investors, what type of property should I buy? And I think they always get a little confused at the beginning because there's so many different strategies out there, but is there one that they should maybe kind of stick with, particular strategy in the beginning?
No, I don't think so. I think realistically, as a beginner, you can do any strategy you want. You just got to know a few things, perhaps know a few people, and just jump in. Because I could tell you, hey, single family home. I could tell you that. you think it's easy, and it may very well be, but for somebody who's been doing student rentals exclusively, for example, that's easy as pie also. For some of my clients, student rentals are an absolute disaster, nightmare, right? Something in their nightmares. But it could be any strategy you want: to rent to own, single family, multi-family. It could be a 10-story apartment building. I don't think there's a real strategy for a beginner. I think they're all good. But what I do think is that once you have decided on the strategy, just make a real go of it and focus on that only. Because at least at that point, you can become good and you can master it, and let all the other strategies melt away, at least for the time being. And later down the road, once you've felt you've mastered something, and you want to venture out, go ahead and do it. But to be explicit, to explicitly answer your question, Gary, I don't think any strategy is the main strategy to go in and start your career on. I think they all have something positive, but you, as an investor, just have to choose one and move on it, and continue to use that particular one for at least a good chunk of your time.
Right. Yeah, and I think really what you're saying is, the most important part of it is the education piece of it, right? So educate yourself. I don't think there's a right or wrong strategy. It's just what strategy is going to suit your lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
What's going to suit you, and go ahead and learn a few things about it, but don't get yourself all caught up in the whole analysis paralysis bit.
Yeah.
Right, because you won't do anything at that point.
Yeah. That shiny stone syndrome, where you go to a seminar, you get all excited on a particular strategy, and you come back next week and it's a completely different strategy, and you're like, what, I'm going to change my focus, I'm going to do this now. And I see people do that all the time, and 2 years goes by and they haven't picked up one property.
Nothing. I mean, geez, we all know people who are in that boat.
Yeah.
Right. We all know people that we talk to on a fairly regular basis. Actually, probably not even regular anymore, because we know they're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is one of the toughest things.
Yeah. And they're always calling you, asking you about, hey, what do you know about this? What do you know about that? Listen, it's not going to help you for me telling you all this stuff. You have to go and do it.
Yeah, it's action, right? Pulling that trigger. That's the hardest part, I think, in this whole entire game is pulling the trigger, because people are always scared or fearful of what's going to go wrong. Right.
And it's funny you say that, because somewhere down the line, I heard that, and I think it's from one of these books, like one of the Malcolm Gladwell books, I believe. And he was mentioning that a lot of people actually play the game not to lose, as opposed to playing the game to actually win. And when you play the game not to lose, you're always on guard, right? You're always trying to prevent a loss. Whereas if you're playing to win, you can move forward.
Right.
I don't know if that means anything to any of you, but it meant a lot to me when I heard it.
No, 100%. You see that in a sports game, a team, they can be up by a certain score, and they lay back and play not to lose the game. How many times you see them get burned? Keep that aggression. Keep playing how you took the lead. Don't change your style and keep going.
You're not talking about the Raptors, are you?
That's a good analogy.
No. This year, no. They just got wiped. That wasn't them, but you see that a lot, right? And I think, like you said, Gary, just comes back to that fear, and you can't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we learn. We learn every day through mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And ask anyone in any profession that plays at the top level, right? That's how they learn from the mistakes.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, and I mean, look how many times we've talked, and every week is like, oh my God, I can't believe we made that mistake. Oh my God, look at this. And we're always talking about the mistakes that we made, but we're learning from it, right? And we keep moving forward.
Yeah, the key is don't make the same one twice, and you're okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool. All right, and Darlene, I guess you probably get this all the time, and most people are always shopping for the lowest rates, and they're going between brokers and the banks. But what do you think about this strategy? Should they be doing that? Is it always about the lowest rates?
No, it's not always about the lowest rate. Sometimes you have to look at the big picture, and you have to work in unison with your broker to strategize. And sometimes, you have to take a little bit of a rate hike, I guess, on the first couple of properties so that it'll allow you to get an additional 3, right? So, it's not always about the rate. You definitely have to look at the big picture.
Yeah, well, I think, Darlene, I think to add on that, I think people don't even really know the numbers if they see, oh, my friend got 2.49 and I got 2.59. They don't even know what that equates to in a number game. Meanwhile, the guy with 2.59 might have a lot better options within his mortgage, and flexibility, right? But people just get caught up in that one number, and they have no idea a dollar amount what the difference is between those two rates. It's just a psychological thing, and at times,
right.
If it drives me crazy, it must drive you crazy.
It does, and you know what? You're right on that, because a lot of times people, especially look at how the market's been doing 2-3 years now, and people want to refinance, get equity out, and if you're stuck in one of those, I call them the scam rates, because it looks really good, but then if you try to change anything about the mortgage, you basically feel like you've entered yourself into a scam, right? Mm-hmm. So you're left with a $10,000 penalty if you want to, break it.
Yeah. And again, that just comes down to education and understanding the different products, right? But people, they just get caught in that. I need to get that 1.9, and that's it. They're not
very true.
They're not focused on the bigger picture, right? Renee, so here's a question for you. And especially for, again, maybe a new real estate investor getting into this. How do they know if they're working with the right real estate agent, to help them or assist them buy their investment property?
Basically, you need to work with somebody that knows about investing, that has invested, that meets, talks to investors, goes to meetings, and he hears about other investors. Somebody who's in the game that knows what it's all about and has invested. Other than that, is that they'll find you the home, but if they haven't really talked to them and find out what they're looking for, if they're looking for quick cash flow or cash flow right now or pay down, and the whole idea of investing, they're going to have a property, but then it may not service the needs that they're looking for.
Right.
So I think they should invest. And the same is that, then get an insurance broker that invests. Get a lawyer that works with a lot of investors. Get an accountant that works with investors. Your whole team has to be people who do it, because they're in the game all the time. They know it. So that's what's important.
Yeah, so I think, and what you're really saying, is to make sure that you associate yourself with professionals in the industry, right? Yep. Building that power team. You don't have to know everything, but you want to make sure that team that's around you, that you're using and utilizing, understands each aspect or dynamic of your, of the business that you're trying to build, that portfolio. Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure. Quentin, here's a tough question for you, and I know I even struggled with this too. Before I kind of got into this full time, but if somebody wants to invest in real estate and they want to do it full time, when should they quit their 9-to-5 job?
Yeah, I guess that entails a lot of variables, right? Someone who's single on their own, there's less variables involved, or do you have a family to support? So basically, it comes down to numbers. Where are you at in life right now? How much money do you have to carry you for X amount of months as this gets going, the real estate investment game, and then map out the plan that way. Too many times I think people might read a book and have unrealistic expectations where okay, in a year I'm gonna quit my job and that's it. And it's like, okay, well, do you know your monthly numbers of what it takes for you to manage your household or to live, and how many properties that's going to take to get you there? So I think it's just taking a step back and getting knowledge about the different strategies that are available to you in real estate investing, and try to match that up to your personal lifestyle. All right. So it's not a cut and dry answer, but it does take a lot of planning, basically.
Yeah, I think that's key, though, and really important, is understanding the numbers, right? Understanding what that bottom number is, and what do you need on a monthly basis to survive. And I think
100%.
Yeah, and I think one of the best things that that I was taught in the beginning was, don't quit your full-time job until your part-time job becomes your full-time job.
Great way to put it.
Yeah, and I think that was probably the best advice that I ever got when I was completely swamped, putting in 16 hours a day, and I was like, okay, I think it's time to go now.
Right. And like Darlene will tell you, right, why are you going to throw away your strongest leverage point, qualifying for mortgages, right?
Yeah.
Right away, right? So I would say you probably want to max that out until you hit that wall. Then, there's another indicator, right? And I think at that time goes back to Gary's point, where it will probably be consuming more of your time at that point in time as well, right? So I would take Gary's point and the brick wall maybe as turning points for that.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of adding to that, the brick wall, and Chris, maybe I'll throw this over to you. A lot of investors, they get into it, and it doesn't take very long for them to get tapped out. What do they do when they hit that brick wall? How do they keep moving forward?
What, aside from robbing a bank? What?
Yeah, this is not that podcast. That's the other one that come up next week.
Geez, man. Okay. So you need money and credit, right? I mean, that's ultimately what it boils down to. And once you've exhausted one or the other, at that point, you probably need to start looking for a partner, right? Now, I'm not saying to exhaust either one before you start looking for a partner, but I think at that point, if you want to continue to grow and to invest, you're going to have to start thinking about other people that can bring something to the table, and you can now go ahead and do what's called a joint venture, and move towards a common goal. So maybe one guy's got money, the other guy's got credit, or one guy's got the deal, and you got both money and credit. However it pans out, I think you're going to need to introduce other elements, and what I mean by that is just other people in the mix if you want to keep moving forward. And it's funny, a lot of people are terrified of that, right? Yeah. Terrified. And they really believe that they can continue to move solo forever. And it's just really strange to see. And I always tell people that there are no self-made millionaires, right? Yeah. Every millionaire has, they'll take the credit for it, but they actually have a team of people that are working with them or behind them to make it happen. Yeah. So I really believe it boils down to other people.
100%. I 100% agree with that, because, if it wasn't for joint venture partnership and understanding how that working really grasped in that concept, I'd probably still be at my 9-to-5 job. Because you can't do this on your own. I don't know anybody that has it. I think it's almost virtually impossible. And even if you do have a ton of money, you still need that team around you. You still need those partners around you, right? Now, I know it's been a little while since the changes have taken effect, but we did have some big changes about maybe 6-7 months ago. Has that really impacted or affected the clients that you work with? Because I know prior to it coming out, people thought the whole world was going to stop, and that was it. The aliens were coming and we're finished. Was that true?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, we all adjust, right? There's been so many changes even before that with the 30-year AM going down to the 25-year for everything that's under 20%. But you know what? One of the biggest things I find is that investors always prevail. Especially those that are working with a team, there's, a lot to be said about that, especially when you see that all of those model lenders can no longer get that, the rental deals done. I do have to say that it has been a little bit difficult knowing that, there's really only 2 lenders left that us on the broker side can go to. But it hasn't really impacted us as badly as we thought initially.
Yeah, and I think the one thing to note as well too is that I know since I've been investing in real estate, and I'm sure you guys can all attest to this, since 2008, every single year there's been a mortgage change or some type of rule change or some type of new regulation or government intervention, and we've always found a way around it. We've always continued to move forward, and I think the lesson here is that between now and next 20 years, there's always going to be rule changes. There's always going to be something changing. So the people who do well in this game are the people that adapt the fastest, right? And I think that's the most important part to really kind of grasp out of that particular question, right? One of the big questions that we get all the time is the bubble. When the bubble comes, that's it. And who knows? Maybe we're kind of moving in that direction. What advice do you give investors, Quentin, when they kind of say the bubble and maybe I should wait?
I think that excuse is just going back to the same person who might sit in a room for a few years and say, oh, this strategy, that strategy. To me, that's just another excuse for not taking action, really. Because as you said earlier, and we all know, we're in this for a long-term game. So if someone's thinking there's a bubble, then basically what they're telling us is they want to try to time the market. And all of us here, realtors, we don't time the market, right? So we don't have that much control over what the market's going to do. So investment is about numbers. So if we look at a property and break down the numbers and we have a long-term plan, then what's the issue? Right? That's how I approach that with someone there.
Right, long-term, right? Long-term.
Yeah,
right.
What it is. Long-term, right?
I don't know if you can find a better time to invest with interest rates as low as they are. Like if you can't make deals work at 2.5%, 3%, well, what are you going to do when these things go up to 5%? And who knows, that could be 10 years, 15 years from now, but like it's so cheap right now.
Yeah, people don't forget that, right? If things start to go down that way, there's other variables to factor in too. And like you just said, interest rates would be one of them, right? Yeah. So, that's why to me it's just another excuse. It's a numbers game at the end of the day. We're breaking down numbers, right? If those numbers don't work for your strategy, then okay, that's valid, right? But outside of that, I don't see that as a valid excuse for not investing at this point in time.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And Chris, you got anything to add to that?
No, I don't. I mean, I think a lot of people, they think they're going to time the market. Maybe they're going to buy and all of a sudden magically it's going to go up and they're never going to lose. I don't believe that. I truly believe that you buy in and you sit and you wait, and the market's going to do what it does. And in the meantime, you're going to get your cash flow, and your mortgage is going to get paid down, and your property is going to do what it does value-wise. Is it going to go up or down? It's going to go down temporarily. Is it going to shoot up? I mean, what does it matter if you're making some cash flow and the property is sustaining itself? You're getting the mortgage paid down. The bubble to me isn't really, it's not a hot topic, is what I'm trying to say. It's not a hot topic at all for me.
I remember before I started investing in real estate, that word scared me. Before I got educated, before I started going to seminars and listening to Don Campbell's and all the experts out there, I was always fearful of the bubble because that's what we talked about at the water cooler when we were I was thinking about investing in real estate. It was always the bubble. The bubble crashes, you're gonna get wiped out, you're gonna lose everything. But once you understand it, it actually has zero impact on me. At least that's the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very little in my mind.
Yeah.
No, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, nobody wants anyone to get wiped out. Nobody wants their investment to go to zero. I don't think it's going to happen, but nobody wants that. But if you think that your expenses are $1,300 and you're rented for $1,500 or $1,400 or whatever, you're still okay, right? You're still in good shape.
Yep, for sure. Darlene, I just want to swing it back over to you one more time. What's the best way, do you think, to finance your property? I mean, there's so many different ways, but any particular way that you think is the best, or maybe a couple different ways?
You know what? I think it really depends. I think it just really depends on the stage of the game that the person's in. So obviously for the newer investors, the ideal way to do that would be to qualify on their own down payment and mortgage that property on their own, and also keeping in mind it does depend on what type of investment strategy you're going for. So if it was something where, let's say you were doing a buy and hold, then you would most likely want to mortgage it because there's tax advantages to the interest that you can deduct over the next 5 to 15 years or however long you decide to hold that property. If you were looking, let's say, for example, to do something where you wanted to buy, renovate, and flip, if you had the ability to, let's say, put that property on a homeowner line of credit, that would probably be the way to go, because then you don't have to really worry about breaking the mortgage because the money is so liquid, so causing you to have less expenses in the short run.
Right. So I guess it really just kind of depends on the strategy that a particular investor is, going to pursue, and sitting down and obviously talking to somebody who can look at their finances and see what they've got, whether it's in RSPs or whatever, and say, okay, this is the best strategy for you to implement.
And again, it just goes back to having the team behind you. So if you want to be an investor and you want to go to the bank because you've banked at a certain institution, that's all fine and dandy. But when you're actually trying to go down the path of, real estate investment, you're trying to, build a path of success for your future, then you definitely need to be in touch with, the mortgage broker, mortgage agent that deals with investors, and equally important are the realtors that deal with real estate investors.
Right. For sure. And I mean, there's always some type of, I think anyways, a solution for all investors if they want to get into real estate investing. I've seen people who don't have money. I've seen people who don't have credit, but yet they're still able to get into the game. And again, it comes down to the team. It comes down to the education. And I think it also, more importantly, comes down to the determination and the action, right? So anybody can do this.
Yeah, it comes down to the individual.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I mean, education is huge for sure, and the team is huge. But you can have all the education, you can have the biggest, the best team. But if it comes down to you, if you don't decide to use that information, I mean, we've got a lot of people that we know the same thing. We were just talking about that earlier, right? A lot of people that we know that have, our backing behind them. They have a lot of information, whether it's through us or elsewhere, and we haven't heard them make any moves. And and it's not to put anybody down. It's just, I think it comes down to you. That's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been, I would say, the most successful in the last 8 years, but during those 8 years, I've made way more mistakes than I did probably in the previous 30 plus years. And I would say prior to that, I was just always kind of scared, right, to making those mistakes, because you don't know what's going to happen. But I think when you live that way, it's you're always kind of like, what if, and you always start looking back, and I should have done this, and I could have done that. So just take the action. Who knows? We might only be here once, right? I don't know. So why not live it? Why not enjoy it? And experience the ride. There was a really cool quote I remember. One of my managers had it, and it was always on his signature line. And I don't remember exactly how it goes, but the author was unknown, and it was something along the lines of, I just want to live this life to the fullest, and at the end, I want to slide into my grave, all torn and beaten up, and say, "Whoa, what a hell of a ride!"
Yeah. And, so like a heavy heroin user.
Yeah.
No, guys. Hey, kids. Don't take heroin, kids. Okay, don't try this at home, kids.
All right. But listen, before this podcast starts to go down a different route here, listen, I want to thank you guys all for jumping on the call. I think it was very.
Wait, that was it?
Yeah,
it?
That's it, man. I think it was great information. We're close to
really?
that over.
We're gonna have to do a part 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Hey, we can do that. We can
I have so much more to add. I think we all have so much more to add.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we get some good feedback on this, and I'm sure we will, we'll definitely do that. But I think before we go, why don't we do this so we can add a little bit more, input and good information for everybody that's listening. So I'll maybe kind of start off with Renee. What's the last, or good piece of advice that you can give the listeners? That after listening to this, they can say, "This is what I need to take away from this particular podcast, and now I'm going to go out and do something." What's the best piece of advice that you can give them?
Take action.
Action.
Take action. Yes.
Yeah. And is there maybe even, and on top of that as well, too, because we know action is important, but is there a book that you can recommend? Is there something that you did, besides taking action, that you can say, like, you need to do this or you need to read this?
I read the book a long time ago, and that's influenced me, Power of Positive Thinking. And I think that has nothing to do with real estate, but attitude. And by Norman Vincent Peale, I believe.
Okay.
You know what? But here's the thing with what Renee said. It has nothing to do with real estate, and it really doesn't. It's all attitude.
Yep.
It's positive thinking and it's attitude. It doesn't matter what it is you're doing.
Yep, I agree with that. And then Chris, I'll throw it over to you. Piece of advice. Piece of advice that I've been using a lot lately, and a lot of you who've been out with me before or have spoken to me will know I say this a lot. I use this expression a lot, so excuse me that you already know it. But I would rather have a half a watermelon than a full grape. And somehow or other down the line, I heard that, and it stuck with me this whole time. And what it says to me is, you gotta have a team, but more importantly, you're gonna need partners, and you cannot be afraid of partners. You can't do it all by yourself. And I'd rather have half of something big than 100% of something small. Yeah.
So that's my advice, and just make sure you guys make it happen and take action.
And just to add that as well too, I think there's so much fear around the joint venture partnership, and I think the big one that we always hear, Chris, is when we're doing those the advanced class or even the beginners class is, well, how do I protect myself, and what if my partner takes off on me and when it takes all the money? And I was thinking about that, and I don't know if I've heard of anybody doing that. But it's such a huge fear. And I'm not saying not to protect yourself. It's just, it's not something that's very common.
Well, I don't know. You might be right. And I haven't heard anybody, running off with the cash. except your ex-wife. I mean, ex-husband. Never mind. Moving on. No. Listen, you know what I think though? I think people we're so conditioned to do everything ourselves, and that's why, we fail at things, and that's why we don't do things, because we're so conditioned to do everything ourselves. Because, that bad thing is going to happen, that bad man, or that, if I don't control everything, it's going to go all haywire. And you know what? Entrepreneurs have a bad problem with that. And all of you guys out there, entrepreneurs, and all of us for the same, we know this too. It's so hard to let go of the reins, right? You can hire. I used to have a business in Montreal, and I used to be, although I was the boss, I had a manager who I hired. I had employees who I hired to do, X, Y, Z. I had an accountant, and guess who was still doing all the managing and still doing all the accounting? I was doing it all, and I bet you guys all find you're probably doing a lot of the same thing. So it's so hard to let go, but it's just because we're so conditioned. And I really think, once we hire the right people, or once we find the right people, if we're talking about joint ventures, we can go at this together, and you can do bigger and greater things together. I truly believe that. It's hard to understand, but I truly believe that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think a lot of real estate investors, and I think, beginners, when they get in there, I think they still have a different mindset.
Sure.
I know I did when I was coming from that 9 to 5 world of scarcity, what's in it for that other person, but the mindset.
Everyone's a suspect.
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe it's just that mindset in that 9 to 5 world where somebody's always got something over you, or they're trying to get up to that next level and they're trying to hold you down. But when I got into this world, I was like, why does this guy want to give me all his information? Why does he want to share? Why can't I take him out for lunch and then give me just all this? And it was just mind blowing to me. But it's that shift in that mindset of giving to receive. And the giving process starts the receiving process.
You know what? I bet you any money, if you could take a poll of the most successful investors, and take a poll of even the most successful investors, I guarantee you they're not doing it by themselves. I guarantee you they've got other people next to them, beside them, behind them, in front of them, somewhere.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
For sure.
100% guarantee it.
I agree. Quentin, last piece of advice that you can kind of leave us, the listeners, with, and maybe a book as well too, that changed your life or inspired you.
Okay. I would say don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait.
Love it.
And for that, take a look at yourself in the mirror right now and ask yourself, are you living the life you want to live, or providing for your family? And if you're not where you want to be, then take steps to make it better, right? And investing in real estate isn't going to happen overnight. But you got to start somewhere. So just take that action and move forward. In terms of mindset books, before real estate investing, it was Think and Grow Rich was the mindset one. But a book I'm reading right now that I would recommend to even beginners, just to set your mind right around money management, would be the Richest Man in Babylon.
You're reading that? I'm actually reading that right now too.
Yeah. So I think for beginners, it's just a great way to start, right? And just be conscious of how you handle your money, right? Easy come, easy go, right? If you haven't heard Gary's story before about inflation and his raise at his job back in the day, you got to start paying attention to that stuff, right? So that would be my my advice for the listeners out there.
Perfect. Thanks, Quentin. I appreciate that. And over to you, Darlene. Piece of advice and a book.
Yeah, so for me, my advice really is just like everybody else's, more or less just to take action. But it's that feeling of energy, that feeling of excitement that you get when you know that there's something in you to give. Just use what you have in you and just go out there and get what you want. Because a lot of times in the past when Gary used to drag me to all these different, seminars, you see these people up on stage and hear their stories and they're talking about how successful they are, and I don't know, you just think, that could be me, or could it be me? And one of the things that really changed for us is once we started being part of a team. And don't be afraid to talk to any of us. We're all very open-minded. We're all very down to earth. But that's what's important. Just don't think you have to do it on your own. For me, I don't really have a lot of time right now to read books. But one person that I have listened to a lot in the past is Jim Rohn. And if anybody hasn't heard of him, he's basically a business philosopher and motivational speaker. And he just has a way of getting through to you to change your mindset based on things that you probably already know. Yeah,
I agree with that, and thanks. And I guess for me, it's mindset. Before I got down the path and went down the path of real estate investing, prior to me starting it, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I was frustrated. I knew that I was fed up of my 9-to-5 job. And my brother, he brought the Secret over to me. I don't know if you guys have heard of it or watched it, but that's what I watched first. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this thing a try. And I honestly did. I said, let me try this thing. Let me write down my goals. Let me see if I can design my life. And I started doing that. And then it just took me down a path. Yeah, to listening and reading Robert Kiyosaki. I'll give you a couple people. Jim Rohn, like Darlene mentioned, Brian Tracy, Earl Nightingale, Zig Ziglar, and I put all of that stuff in my vehicle, and I stopped listening to the radio and music, and that's what I listened to for about 5 years straight while I was working at TD and trying to start Smart Home Choice, and that was what I filled myself with, was that mindset. And once you understand and you can grasp that, I'm telling you, it works. I don't know how it works. I don't need to try and figure out how it works and the laws in the universe, but I can tell you 100% it works. Not even 99.9, 100%. So mindset.
I agree. I do.
Yep, 100%. It's a plan. You're mapping things out. You have a plan. You're not just blown with the wind.
Yeah. And I think once you get to that stage, when you know it, you'll know you're on the right track when you hate going to bed and you love waking up. And it's like it's not you're looking at your clock anymore saying, oh my God, how much time do I have left? It's, oh my God, I'm running out of time and I have all this stuff that I need to get done.
And it's like, once you're wired that way, there's no finish line, right? There's always going to be a new challenge, a new journey, and that's the exciting part of it, right? It's not like, oh, once I reach here, that's it. I kick back and I don't do anything else.
Yeah, I agree. It's about learning and moving forward, and it's the journey, not the destination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So listen, with that, thank you guys all very much for sharing your thoughts and your ideas and your inspiration. I think everybody's going to enjoy it. I learned some stuff off it as well too, so I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks for putting this
together. It was very nice to have everybody on the call.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So with that, we are going to end it, and you guys have a great week, and let's go out there and kill it.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Okay. Fantastic.
All right.
Good night, kids.
Okay.
Good night, kids.
Good night. All right.
Bye.
Take it easy. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for joining this month's podcast. I hope you guys really enjoyed the content. Don't forget to check out smarthomechoice.ca to learn more about real estate investing and how we can help.